Let's take a look at 10 years of Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, or he's widely known as Pep. On February 1st, 2016, Pep Guardiola was named the next Manchester City manager after his time with Bayern Munich came to a close. His first piece of major silverware came 2 years later in the Carabao Cup, beating Arsenal 3-0 for the club's 5th title in the competition, with Mikel Arteta as one of his assistants. That same season, Manchester City returned to the top of the English Premier League for the first time since 2014 and also became the first English club in the top flight history to reach 100 points. In the next season, the trophies kept on coming, 4 of them to be exact: the domestic quadruple with the Community Shield, League Cup, FA Cup and another Premier League title. Then in May 2021, Manchester City once again lifted the Premier League trophy, their 3rd in the last 4 seasons. In 2022-23 came the season that will be the highlight of his tenure, the Continental Treble, a 3rd consecutive Premier League title, an FA Cup final win over Manchester United, and the club's first Champions League title, beating Inter in the final. And like clockwork, in May 2024, Manchester City, the kings of the Premier League for the 4th time in a row, the first time an English club would win 4 straight top-flight titles, something that had never ever been done before. It's crazy, isn't it, really, to look back on a decade of Pep Guardiola and the absolute dominance that he's had with Manchester City in English football.
Yeah, and not only that, the influence he's had on world football. You see kids in the park now playing a hand-on play from the goalkeeper in old school Saturday or Sunday league football. So for me, it's amazing when you read out those trophies, you think, wow. And it shows to how cynical we are now. He has one bad season last year, and it's, oh my God, the message has gone stale. When you've had that much level of success, done things that not even Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger could do in the Premier League, for me, he's just amazing. He's a genius, and once you are a genius, you stay a genius. You don't get stupid overnight. I
think one of the other things, Grella, is so many times we talk about elite managers and we say, well, they haven't done it in this league, or, well, they haven't done it in Europe, well, they haven't done it domestically. Pep Guardiola seems to be the outlier to all of those different scenarios.
Yeah, he's done it everywhere he's gone, and he's one of the best managers we'll ever see. We'll talk about him for years to come. And Troy mentions the style of football as well. It was really pretty to watch. It was dominating. I think Troy's played against them, and it's tried. You don't touch the ball, and it's difficult because when they lose it, then the press after loss, and they just was suffocating for so many years of dominance. I think the frustration happens in the last couple of years, year and a half, where he just failed to adapt, and he failed to change the way he looks at things. And you could also look at it in a couple different ways of, you know, obviously all those different countries he went to the best club with the biggest budgets in those countries as well. $1.8 billion spent at Man City as well. So there's 2 ways to look at it in the end, but you can't take away his genius.
Well, before we just get to kind of the other side of everything, Nige, this really puts into comparison Manchester City, because back in the day, Manchester City weren't exactly a trailblazer of world football, were they? In 120 years, they won the same amount of trophies as what Pep Guardiola has done in 10, to put it into perspective. 4 top-flight titles compared to the 6. The big one is the Champions League, and then the FA Cup and Carabao are kind of split. So all in all, 18 trophies in 120 years and 18 trophies in 10 years.
No, it's amazing. It just goes to what these 2 men spoke about earlier, about how he's changed the game of football, in how he approached the game and the success that he had. We've also got to take into account how the world and football has changed itself. But the biggest objective that Pep Guardiola was brought into Manchester City, for me, in my opinion, was to win the Champions League, because they already had managers who won Premier League titles before him. The Champions League was what Manchester City wanted for the development of the football club, the bigger outside project of what they were trying to do to become a global name, and he delivered. And he delivered it with style and also with Premier League dominance and titles to add to it, to take Manchester City to another level. So that was, for me, I think, is the biggest objective, and he achieved it with bringing that the Champions League.
You were just mentioning the other side to things, though, Grella. Obviously, when a manager is with a team for such a long amount of time, only Diego Simeone in the top 5 leagues has been with his team for longer. Do you feel now that the road is naturally starting to part between City and Pep Guardiola, and he's done as much as he can there, given what we've seen in the last year and this year in particular?
I mean, how often do you see a manager stay at a club that long? You think of Sir Alex Ferguson, you think of Simeone, you think of maybe Pep. That's about it. It's difficult because the challenge, there's so many challenges that become being a manager, but probably the biggest challenge is, how do you keep making it fun? How do you keep making it interesting? How do you keep making the players determined? How do you keep on evolving as the game's evolving and understanding younger and younger generations of players? I think it's probably the bigger challenge, especially when your belly's full and you're winning things, right? And these players are paid well, so how do you continue to motivate them? And I'm not talking about every single season. That's the obvious one. What about every single day? These guys are together 7 days a week, 6 days a week at the training ground. You got to think of new ways to train them. You got to think of new ways to warm up. You got to think. I think that's the biggest challenge. Yeah, he has a fantastic staff around him as well. An interesting story I have about Pep is obviously Fabian Delph, who you played with, who I spent time playing with as well. He's had Carlo Ancelotti and Pep. And I often have conversations with me being Italian-American, say Ancelotti's the best. And he says, he's had them both. He says there's no comparison, that Pep is levels beyond even what Ancelotti has to offer. So I think that tells you a lot.
What way does he say his levels above?
In the way that he sees the game, in the way that he interprets the game, in the way that he's able to change things, and I think it's a higher level of tactician, a higher level of energy in what he approaches compared to Ancelotti. I disagree. I sometimes disagree with it, but he's had them both. He's had them both, so no one could speak better than him.
Because I've had the same conversation with Fabian as well, and he says the attention to detail. It's another level of tactician where Ancelotti only really teaches you the basics of defending without the ball as a team and lets the players go out and have the freedom of creativity in their individual personality to make things happen. Pep, for me, doesn't give you that freedom in that sense, in that attacking third. He wants to let you know this is what you should do. So he controls everything. I would say, like Grella said, his hardest problem is going to be motivating the modern players, especially when you've built so much success at Manchester City, is to keep these players motivated again, to want to do it next year, want to do it next year, want to do it next year. And what we seem to take away sometimes and forget is managers are humans too, just like players are. Sometimes managers might have things going through in their personal life that they don't want to bring into there, but somehow it might end up coming into the workplace as professional as they try and be. So there's elements of life happening at the same time. It's also difficult to kind of take that away from trying to motivate and be a winner and always staying hungry for success.
Yeah, I think the opposite. I actually think last year would have been such a gut-wrenching feeling for him that would you want to, when you look at his manager tree and everything that he's done, would you want one of your, say minions is the wrong word, but one of your
disciples,
that's a great word, thank you.
Why did minions come into you?
Because I got kids.
Minion is great.
I got
kids too.
I got kids, still. Minions. Anyway, but I think like with Arteta was to win everything now. You don't want to be, hey, wait there, I taught you everything. I don't want you overtaking me.
But wouldn't you get a bit of pleasure from that? It's almost like somebody that's close to you and your family having success.
You're asking Troy saying that. You're asking Troy.
Don't you take pleasure?
Troy does not want to see anyone else.
Don't you like losing?
No,
absolutely not.
Way,
but when you look at his,
he learned everything he
learned it through him and he adapted. And you look at, obviously, at Enzo Maresca, you look at Company as well. These are probably the faces of the next 5 years of football that he has now spawned. But what he wants from that is to still beat these people. Yes. You still want to beat them. When you've been winning that much at his level, all he wants to do is win. So no, he won't be happy that Arteta's at the top. He wants to go and beat him and say, I'm still the master. So I think, again, once you're a genius, you're always a genius. Now he just needs to have a little bit of a moment and go, OK, how do we get this together?
Just very quickly, yes or no, is he still there next season?
If he wins the Premier League title, somehow, some way, I don't think he will be. I just answered the question.
Grell,
I think if he wins, he will stop.
I just don't think so.
You don't, Troy?
Yes.
Yeah, OK, split.